This is Tracy with Talking to Tracy on Watch Kansas. Today we have Kristy Provence. Kristy is a parent in the Gardner Edgerton School District. Now, we've been talking over the past few weeks to a lot of different candidates. We've had some state senators and representatives on with various programs. We've been out to different rallies, all about freedom and choice. And Gardner Edgerton is having the same problems all other school districts across the country are having, and it comes down to parental involvement and parents raising their children. Kristy, you've got kids in the Gardner Edgerton School District?
I do.
How old are your kids?
13 and 6.
Now, we were talking here before the show started. We've known each other for a long time. Full disclosure. And your 13-year-old was recently quarantined?
He was.
Why was he quarantined?
He was quarantined because there were 6 positive cases at his school. So the middle school quarantined the entire 7th and 8th grade class.
Whoa, hang on. Because of 6 cases, they stopped school. Now, in your professional life, you tend to deal with a lot of different medical issues and such with different things. So with kids basically across Kansas, my understanding is there were from 17 or 18 and under, we've had 2 deaths, period. And those were with major infants with comorbidities. We haven't had any middle school deaths in Kansas, have we?
Not that I'm aware of. And I think if I remember correctly, the 2 deaths that you are speaking of were from breastfed mothers who received a vaccination. I don't think we've had any infant deaths.
Okay, now, we are not minimizing kids' deaths at all whatsoever across the board.
No.
But we are discussing the fact that they have to have an education. What sort of educational opportunities were offered to your son while he was home for 2 weeks?
We had none.
So if they have another child in the middle school with COVID, are they going to send everybody home again for 2 weeks?
Yes, that's their plan. We have we have one of his friends has been quarantined 3 times since the beginning of the school year. So as of September 13th, that child had been in school a total of 3 days for the entire year that we had been in school.
So the school's not teaching them at all?
No.
What educational opportunities do you feel your son has and your daughter has in general right now?
Right now we're in person learning, and so both of them have wonderful teachers, and they're being taught. They're learning the curriculum as best that they can. A little bit harder at the younger age level. She spent her first year in a mask through kindergarten, and so there are some delays with that because she has trouble enunciating words, sounding things out, learning how to roll her tongue with letters and such, just because she was taught with a teacher who had a mask on for her entire kindergarten year when they were building those foundations. But they're in person and they're learning right now.
Now, what was the reason for shutting down the entire school? What reason did the school district, the two entire grades, what was the reason that the superintendent or the principal gave?
So I did not get responses back from the superintendent on it. I got a response back from the administrator, Linda, at the middle school, who, when I inquired about the proximity of my son's exposure, if he was considered a close contact, how long he was exposed, what class, I was told they did not have any of that information. They just knew that they had 6 cases and that number continued to grow. And so the health department told them they had to quarantine both grades.
So basically the health department came in and made the school a agent of the health department?
Yes.
Now, what do you think as a parent, how would you like to see this handled as a parent? And as a taxpayer, and a citizen, how, and as a medical professional, what do you think should have been done in these cases?
As far as the quarantine goes,
Yeah, if there's 6 cases in an entire school, how do you feel it should have been handled as a parent and as a taxpayer and as a medical professional?
so I feel strongly there should have been a plan in place to be able to identify a high risk exposure versus a low risk exposure. And that's based off of the Johnson County Health Department's website, the CDC's website, you know, what is high risk, what is not high risk. So they didn't have a plan in place for that. I think that they panicked, they turned it over to the health department, and then they just complied with it. So we are reactive, we are not proactive. So I would like to see them be more proactive. I would like to see them offer some sort of education. If you're going to quarantine my child over and over and over again and he's missing out on education, how are we making that up?
Now, was that so when they did the 2 grades, I don't live in Gardner Edgerton, was that the whole school, or was that?
That was the entire 7th and 8th grade in his particular middle school.
What grades are in middle school here? It varies from district to district.
Yeah, so it's 5th, which is completely separate from the rest of the school.
Okay.
And then 6th, 7th, and 8th. 6th grade has their own wing, 7th and 8th grade commingle.
Okay, so that's the reason.
Yeah.
Now, because of this and missing 2 full weeks of school, did the school make any offers to do anything for the kids educationally?
No. We were told that the teachers would get in touch with us. We got an email from his core or homeroom teacher, which also happens to be, I think, his English teacher, just saying, you know, we're very sad that you're not here. We'll see you back in 2 weeks, and we'll send you a link with your homework. So we made it to day 11 of our 2-week quarantine, and I had to email her back and say, we still don't have a link. Are we supposed to be doing homework? And she said the link is in his Google Classroom. So when he went into Google Classroom, there was no information. His Google Classroom was blank. There were no lessons. There were no assignments. There were no videos. There was nothing for him to do. So we, you know, it was a lot of back and forth regarding that. None of the other teachers put out any work at all. We did not hear from any of his other teachers. So he just kind of, in 1 week, he logged an additional 20 hours on his PlayStation. That was his education for that week.
Hey, his thumbs got exercise.
They did, yeah. And he played soccer. I mean, we didn't
Yeah,
we didn't stop living life, but
yeah.
But yeah, that was his education for the week. He played video games with his friends.
So at least had social interaction.
He did.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that's the place of education, is it?
Not the social interaction.
No, not the social interaction I want. Hey, so there's some other issues I know with the school district also. And most of the issues aren't with, and I think a lot of times I hear from teachers and hear people, they think that it's, people have a problem with the teachers.
No.
And I've heard you comment how amazing your kids' teachers are.
Yes.
So, and I just want to make that plain because I know a lot of teachers watch these because I do a lot of stuff with school boards and such, because I have continually way more than I have time or energy to do videos with parents and basic parents reaching out from school districts farther than I can travel, saying, hey, Tracy, what can we do? And I have no answers. All I have is questions. And some of the biggest questions are what you're asking, what can we do? And the school never gave any reason why they didn't educate the kids.
No. So at the last school board meeting, I brought that up, that, you know, my healthy child was quarantined, that he exhibited no symptoms. I was very upset about the segregation between a vaccinated kid and an unvaccinated kid, and the vaccinated kids were allowed to come back immediately. And I brought that up, you know, you left my healthy child at home with no education, and I wanted a plan in place for that for next time, and that went completely unaddressed.
Hang on. So it wasn't all the kids that were quarantined for 2 weeks?
No.
It was the unvaccinated kids.
Yes.
Wow. Kansas, I'm going to apologize. This took me by surprise. I was unaware of that. I thought they, was unhappy as I was with the fact that they quarantined 2 full grades with no education. I didn't realize they only penalized the unvaccinated children.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Honestly, I just really, nobody's going to believe this, but I have nothing to say at this point. I am totally shocked.
Yeah.
And at this point, not a lot shocks me.
It was a shocking email to get. That if your child has been vaccinated, feel free to provide your vaccination status to us, and we will allow your child to return the day after Labor Day, so on the 6th of September, which was, they came home on a Friday, so they quarantined Friday, Saturday, Sunday were the weekend, Monday was a holiday, and they returned on Tuesday. That was also brought up at our school board meeting, the segregation and the discrimination between vaccinated and unvaccinated children, and how they were allowing that, and really, for me, felt like they were violating our medical rights by even asking us to show proof one way or another in order to receive an education.
Well, they've also told every child in the school what your child's medical status is.
Mm-hmm. And that was another point that I brought up.
So now your child has no medical privacy. The point is that other kids care. Other kids have more concerns with other people's opinion.
Yes.
So which ones are the cool kids? The kids that are vaccinated or unvaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know it's going to have an impact. Now, is your school masking? Are they requiring mandatory masks?
So we were not until 2 days before school started. And then, yeah, so they waited until they put out an email and said, masks will be optional, and we need everybody's enrollment in. And so I had, of course, waited until the very last day because that was going to determine whether or not we were going to homeschool or go to public school. And they put that out, so we enrolled, and then 2 days after that, they sent out another notification and said, just kidding, we changed our minds, so we'll be masking.
Wow. Now, you've got 3 kids.
Uh-huh.
And they're all school age.
Yep.
One of them has chosen not to go to a public school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my 17-year-old.
Why did she choose these options? I don't know if it was because of this or just because she really likes the freedom to work on her own.
So a little bit of both.
Okay.
She really struggled last year during the remote learning.
Mm-hmm.
And then once she got her bearings with remote learning, then they put them all back in person.
Mm-hmm.
And so then she struggled being back in person. She knew that she did not want to wear a mask. She knew that she was tired of what she calls the political bullshit in our school district.
I love this kid.
And so she said, I think I want to homeschool. Then we found out that she really only needed 3-ish credits to graduate, and the school in Gardner was going to make her take an entire class load her first semester, and then they were not going to give her her government class until the second semester, which was her only other class she needed to graduate, basically forcing her into going to school for an entire year when she could graduate in December.
So she's smart.
Yeah. So
she doesn't have any educational issues, and it doesn't sound like she truly needs them.
No. So yeah, so she pulled out. She'll graduate in December, January, and she's already got her plan in place for what she's going to do after that.
Perfect. Now the younger 2, one's a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and one's little.
Yeah, she's 6.
So how is she handling all of this with the masks and the learning? And I know kids, for the most part, don't really care. If you teach them if you tell them they have to do it and they get used to it, they learn to cover their face.
So we spent a good majority of last year, once they went back in person for kindergarten, with her fighting it. They were replacing masks. They were calling me about masks. She doesn't want to wear a mask. She's not wearing a mask properly. She can't have that mask at school. It can't be a gaiter. I mean, just rule after rule after rule after rule after rule.
Now, does her mask stay dry, or is she a spitter? I know
Oh, her mask is covered in green snot every day when she comes home.
Yeah, because I know I've seen a lot of little kids who, even when it's now, the masking, if the parent chooses, that's the parent's right.
Yeah.
But, so I've seen a lot of kids that the mask is just soaked all the time.
Yeah.
That age group just, they're spitters, they're snotters, they're
Yeah.
kind of gross.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kids. Kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they're kind of gross human beings.
They are gross.
I mean,
They are gross.
Yeah, let's face it, you can't love one for too long without having snot on your sleeve.
Yeah. It's gross. And
Yeah.
so her masks are gross. They smell. They smell to high heaven after just one day of wearing them. They smell like spit and sweat and snot and food and anything else that they can get inside of it. So we deal with that. She's an asthma kid too.
Oh, poor baby.
So that's been a challenge. Trying to kind of figure all of that out and figure out how we can make the mask work and keep the asthma under control. And they did a fairly good job with it last year. This year has been significantly worse. So she's been segregated actually in her PE class for taking her mask down because she couldn't breathe. Told to step away from all of the other students until she could put her mask back on.
So she's been ostracized for medical issues.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How many kids are going to school next year?
Out of my kids?
Yeah.
It will be interesting. I'm not sure. My 6-year-old wants to homeschool. If she could homeschool instead of being in school, she would choose that every day. My son is pretty into sports. He'll be a freshman next year.
Oh yeah.
Sports are a big thing. He's running, I think, in the top 1 to 2 spots on his cross country team right now.
So this could be pretty important for his college career too, whether or not he goes to school.
Yes.
Now, how are the teachers? I know we've talked a little bit before we started. We were just kind of chatting and BSing around. How are the teachers in the school?
So we have, for the most part, we have some really good teachers. His math instructor that he had at the beginning of the year was phenomenal. She's one of our favorites, really kind of pushed his love for math and kind of took it to another level for him. We've had issues with the science teacher trying to segregate him from class. He has a mask exemption for his asthma. And so science teacher said, we have a mask exemption, you can't sit with the rest of the kids. We're gonna move you to the back over here all by yourself. So we've just issues kind of here and there. The principal at my son's middle school has been pretty receptive and understanding. And so he, that's fine, Kristy, I support whatever, you need to do. You are his parent. The elementary school principal has been amazing. She's been phenomenal. I think they're, just like with any job, there's always going to be a bad apple. They always have a bad seed somewhere.
And I think it's important to discuss these things because, once again, I have not talked to, and I've talked to 100 plus, if not more, plus even more rallies, that I've not had anybody talk bad about the teachers.
Right.
So I want to make that clear across the board.
Yeah.
I am not hearing parents talk bad about any teachers. Actually, if anything, I'm hearing parents say that teachers are coming to them and saying, I'm doing what I can, you gotta cut me some slack.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I can, what can you do to help us so we don't have to go through as much of this, because we can't speak out.
Yeah.
And so across the board, I have not been talking to parents that have an issue with the teachers. So I want the teachers to understand this. The parents are on your side.
No, yeah, we love our teachers. We will support our teachers in whatever they need. I think a lot of the teachers that my kids have had will, openly say that we are one of those families that will support them, love them, help them, whatever we can do.
Yeah. This is probably going to happen again. Kids are going to catch COVID. Kids catch the cold. Kids catch flu. Kids are little germ monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And I I know, I had COVID about, well, actually, exactly a year ago. I was just getting, this would be, this week would be like the end of my COVID from last year. And I've been exposed to it since then, and I haven't caught it. If I do, it is what it is. But it's going to happen again. There's going to be more kids at the school. What educational plan do they have for your kids if somebody at the school gets COVID again?
They don't.
And admits it, so they're not going to have any education again.
No, they don't. They have no plan in place. I mean, like I said earlier, no ma'am. There was one child, I mean, I'm sure there were more than one, but one that we know of personally, who had missed a total of 6 weeks, 3 quarantines in the first 2 months of school. So
he has no clue what's going on in class. They're just going to leave him behind.
Yeah. I mean, that was what they did to my son too.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully we were lucky enough that we only missed 2 weeks, but had my child missed 6 total weeks of school on 3 different quarantines.
You can't let a kid miss the whole school year because somebody else got sick.
Yeah.
Now, I know in some school districts, if the kids are masked, they don't have to be quarantined. Is this not in your school district? So if they're close to somebody's, do they take temperatures or anything when they come in the door?
Yes.
They do?
Yes.
Okay.
They do temperatures.
Not that that's that effective.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of times people don't get a fever if they've got it until they're pretty darn sick.
Yeah. So yeah, they do temps, and it does not matter if both parties are masked. They still send you home.
So the masks don't work as far as the school is concerned, but they have to wear them anyway.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay. Now, what else do we have going on in Gardner Edgerton, good and bad?
Oh, goodness. Well, good is my son is enjoying school. He's participating in sports. We're not, which that's always very interesting to me. We don't mask on a bus, but we mask in a classroom. We don't mask for sports. We mask in PE when they're running, and in the elementary school they're masking outside on the playground also. So there's a lot of.
What happened to fresh air? We had fresh air when we grew up.
We don't. We had a teacher offer to do classes outside. She was like, hey, I don't want to wear masks. These kids don't want to wear masks. Let's do outdoor classes.
I'm good for that. We did a lot of that when I was growing up. When it got too hot to be inside, they'd take us out under a shade tree.
I will donate the canopies, I will donate the tarps, and I will donate heaters for wintertime. If you want to have outdoor classes. And the principal and the school board said no.
So creative education doesn't work. Where are we at now in Gardner? I know that you have an active parents group. What do the parents have going on right now? I know some of it you may not be able to talk about with an entire state because it's in progress.
Yeah.
But what do we have going on in Gardner the parents are working on that we can talk about?
So right now we are working on trying to get the kids unmasked. Okay. We're quarantining them whether they're masked or not. So why are we masking? We are working on the quarantine policy. So we're not just quarantining entire classes and entire grades for 1 or 2 positive cases. Those are the kind of 2 hot topics right now that we've been working on at the school board meetings, that we've been focusing on, trying to, I want everybody to have a choice. So that
was going to be the next question. We're talking about not masking. If your son's friends come over and they're masked, do you have an issue with that?
No, I respect that.
Bingo.
So I am not anti-mask. I am not
Bingo.
anti-vaccination. I am pro-choice. And I want, really, honestly, what I tell my kids is I want you to be able to choose what goes on or in your body. That's what I fight for every day, is for not just me to have that choice as your parent, but for you to have that choice as a person.
Now, to kind of wrap up, what do you want from your school board?
Aside from a change in my school board completely.
Honestly,
besides an entirely new school board?
Regardless of the school board,
I want...
if you could decide, if you could help them make their decisions as a mom, as a medical professional, and as a taxpayer, what do you think they should be doing now?
Really listening. I feel like right now their mind is made up before we even walk into meetings, and they don't listen. So really I would like for them to listen. At the first board meeting in August, I had sources and references and cited evidence-based practice from pediatricians talking about how masks were hindering learning, hindering growing, hindering emotional and social kind of cognitive even developments for children. And I'm handing them all of this information and they're throwing it right into the trash. So really I would like for them to listen. Last year at the end of the year for the board meetings, I had presented options for masks and unmasked classrooms. Let's think outside the box. How can we make this work so that everybody has a choice and everyone is happy, and find a middle ground? We can't afford that, is what I was told, but we could afford to have in-person classes and remote classes, because last year we had that option for both. Mm-hmm. So we can afford that for those things, but we can't afford that for this situation. Just thinking, life is not black and white. There's a lot of gray in between. And so getting everyone to understand that it's not black or white, that there's gray in between, and that we have to be able to see that gray in order to make decisions that are going to be best for everyone and not just best for the majority, because I am the minority, I think, sometimes.
I don't think we're as much minority as it seems sometimes, because I'm approached, because of what I do with Watch Kansas, I'm approached continuously by people that would surprise you. I'm approached by people that you would think would be going along with the status quo, mm-hmm. and they're not. They just aren't brave.
Yeah, I am finding that a lot too, as a nurse and my profession, and finding out, that a lot of people they want to speak out, but they are afraid for, their livelihood. They're afraid for their family. They're afraid to say anything. So I do see that, but I guess I feel I was like that too. Kind of through all of last year, I was very quiet. I kind of just kept to myself. I didn't say a whole lot. I did a lot of research last year on my own. And then this year I kind of started putting puzzle pieces together. And as those puzzle pieces came together and the picture started to unfold in front of my eyes, I started getting more vocal and a little bit louder about kind of what I'm finding, what I'm seeing, what I'm researching. And that's going from a tiny 2-year-old all the way up to somebody on hospice. I'm watching every stage of life happen before my eyes, and I'm seeing firsthand how all of this COVID, mass vaccinations, all of it is affecting every stage through your lifespan. There's not a time where the health department is stepping in and doing all of this.
My thought process is they have a vested interest, both financially, because this has brought great amounts of money into the departments, and power is in now the people that had none. They had really the worst job in healthcare. I mean, you get to go look for infestations in restaurants. Please keep doing that. I'm not dogging you on that one, but that was really it. Now they have power. Do you think maybe that could have an impact on some of their reasoning if this is their power?
Of course. Yeah, it's, same thing with some of the doctors that are playing roles in this that, maybe had just stepped into a position and now we have a pandemic on our hands, and so they've been given this great big title of, well, here, you can manage this and you can monitor this, and so.
And they get to be on TV where before they just had a desk.
So yeah, I mean, of course, power plays a role in everything.
So I wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
If we're more than happy to talk to you at any point in time, if there's something coming up in your school district and we can help you with to get out your message, just let us know.
I appreciate it.
This is Kristy and Tracy with Talking to Tracy on Watch Kansas.